We'll shift gears a little bit and have a presentation from Ms. Hala Tadros, and she will talk to us about the experiential learning and in education with a special role for reflection.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so glad to be presenting to you this afternoon the research I've been involved with through the School of Education. It has been a real pleasure being part of this family, as Miriam has beautifully said it. The topic of my research has been on experiential learning, which is a passion that grew in my heart for years. And through this research, I've discovered more and more that we need it in our education system. Basically, my work was with Egyptian universities, and I was privileged to have an open door to several universities and do this research with the students in these universities. And the role of reflection is the main focus of my study. So I hope to go through it with you. Before I go, I just want to say a word to my thesis advisor, Dr. Nagwa. Thank you for all what you've contributed to this work. And my thesis reader, Dr. Jennifer, who has been a real inspiration throughout the work. Of course, I will definitely say that since I started being here, it was Dr. Samiha's push to me to get into to this work, and Dr. Ted, I remember when I did the interview with you. Of course, Dr. Roseanne throughout the time, and Dr. Hiba, I've learned so much from you as well. So a big thank you to everyone. The core of my presentation today and the paper I've gathered together was mainly looking at all the literature review, not all, some literature review on the topic of experiential learning. I've done some field work, as I said, and the findings that I will try to share with you. I know 15 minutes is a bit short, so I'll try to be very concise and look at what findings were. Experiential learning and the special emphasis on the role of reflection. When every one of us thinks or reflects, I think this is the road to change. When you and I have a time to rest from all the difficult parts of what we're doing every day, and reflection is definitely a way forward in general in life. And Michael Legrand said once, the more I live, the more I learn. The more I learn, the more I realize, the less I know. And maybe now that we're graduating soon, I was reflecting on this, that it's the second time I go through an MA program, and looking at it in a different perspective and reflecting in general in life is a very important key to going forward. So experiential learning, and that's the topic I'm focusing on, with the reflection on the methodology is what we want to reach. So the research methodology was a quantitative research approach, and I'm going to share with you some of the tools that I have done through the research. We've done it through questionnaires, through discussion groups, through the reflection and participation with the different students that were part of the universities and all what they have contributed into the paper. My research question was, this is like in a nutshell, how do Egyptian students in public universities evaluate the effectiveness of using experiential learning strategies on their educational experience and personal development? As you well know, in the Egyptian universities, very different from the way we have here at AUC. It's large numbers, it is huge difference. There isn't this commute or special way of education. And the idea of experiential learning, doing it through games and through reflection and through a time of sharing between the different students made a big difference. There is a big program that is actually run through AUC here with the ICED of training that's been there for about 2 years now. And I've been involved with a company called MIT, which is Maximum Impact Training, where they were using the tools of experiential learning and at the same time giving education to the students. And as we were reflecting from those ways of doing the development or the research, the students had quite a very positive impact on that. Going very quickly through the literature review, and in a nutshell, experiential learning cycle is basically an experience or doing the activity, the game or challenge. From here, the reflection or the debriefing part then explains the question or answers the question what, which is sharing the feelings and the reactions towards the game and other members that are part of the cycle. Then comes the theory, and this is where the teacher input comes, or the reflector who really makes the process of learning take into consideration the question, so what? Applying the theory that he knows and putting it into a small conclusion after the reflection of the students. So analyzing the experience and extracting some concepts that would help the student know about the experience. Then goes through the cycle, the application or the practice of now what? And this is where a real development takes place in the life of the student. The testing and applying what was learned to similar or different situations. So answering the question, now what, puts it into perspective. And this is where the idea comes that learning makes a change, makes a difference in one's life. And actually it's not a new invention, EL, or experiential learning. It's been said for thousands of years before even Christ, through the Chinese philosopher who once said, I will not say what he said because I forgot, but هي مكتوبة بالthesis, it's all there in the thesis. Okay, so part of my research findings is that reflection makes a real difference in our own lives. And this is something I personally benefited from it very much. I read so much about reflection that I felt I don't want to do anything in my own life without doing the reflection part. And as well encouraging the students to reflect. One of the experiences I'd like to share in this point is when we had an opportunity, me and my colleagues, to be at UCLA for 6 weeks. And on a daily basis, we were asked to reflect on the class that we took in the morning. And that was a real, very good thing. Our teachers here did the same with us, but they were kinder than there because it was not a daily exercise. But of course, this tool is definitely a key to success in education. Games and experience makes learning fruitful and beneficial. Real learning takes place when students can apply it to their own lives. And I think that this is very important, the application. And as we have seen the EL cycle, the application part is what really makes a difference in the students' lives. So the methodology is much recommended in higher education. And this leads me to one of the words that the students have said, and Dr. Jennifer pointed it out, he said that experiential learning for him was an engraving learning methodology. And here I'd like to refer to my mom, who is present here. She always told us, العلم في الصغر كالنقش على الحجر. So education in your own life is like you are engraving in one's life. And when I said it, when I heard it from one of the students, I remembered my mom's instruction to me that yes, I've been being engraved, I had education engrave me, and this really talks more and more about experiential learning as an engraving. So as I shared with you about the different stakeholders of the study, or the people who contributed to the study, many of them were from the Ismailia universities in Ismailia, in Ain Shams University here, of course, in Cairo, and several of the facilitators whom I interviewed and I asked more to contribute to the research, and 3 CEOs of the different companies I worked with. The research limitations was limiting because I focused only on the public universities, and only 2 of them that I shared. They were developed by the training firm MIT in cooperation with our American university. Further research is definitely recommended in this area, and it's needed to explore the implementations of the program in other universities and other firms as well, and partners to AUC and other universities. As I'm currently located in Egypt, it was difficult to compare with other countries abroad, but it would be recommended to do further study in that. And also there was a limit of the sample size of the students, as I got the campus approval a bit late, but it was so much fun. Some of the research recommendations is the following. At the level of the college, especially in the Egyptian universities, more programs are needed to be introduced, and to have the participation of the students as part of the program is definitely the way forward. I remember in Dr. Heba's classes, she always emphasized that, and definitely this is EL should be part of the whole process of education. More needs to be done and combined into the core curriculum at the university level, at the undergraduate level, and especially the positive thinking patterns. And one of the things I was thinking about while I was doing my study was to recommend even a course at the undergraduate level here at AUC for our students to look at one of the topics of, for example, as I said, positive thinking patterns, and to have this as part of the curriculum of even our beloved AUC. I would also like to recommend a new course, yes, and another recommendation is measuring the effect of experiential learning at the corporate level. As a matter of fact, this was my previous work, and as a corporate, using experiential learning in the learning and the process with the different employees and even at the management level is also much recommended. Okay, at the very end, I'd like to acknowledge that I wouldn't have done it without Rabbina subhanahu wa ta'ala, God, in the center. He helped me throughout. My family were very supportive to me. My husband has always been, Hala, go for it. I remember I did it before an MBA 25 years ago. He was behind it as well. Carol, my daughter, has helped me, and she's a beautiful support, as well as Sami. MIT has been the company that allowed me to do the research, and I'm thankful for them, and the students at the universities who were always willing to contribute, and it was a pleasure working with them. AUC, of course, and higher education, and all this work is dedicated to Egypt, my beloved, and thank you so much for listening.